Hey everybody, this is Miss Segovia and I'm going to show you how to make our DNA replication foldable today. This is going to go onto the left hand side of your notebook because on the right hand side later on you're going to be adding some notes that you'll get to see in another video. I really like this foldable because it's a movable one. You can actually take your molecule and show how new strands of DNA are made. Isn't that neat? So let's walk you through the process on how to put this whole thing together. You're going to need two papers. One is the directions, so it has the how-to and then also a key that you're going to fill out and put into your notebook later. And then you need the big paper with the DNA parts. So here we have our DNA strands, or sometimes you'll hear it referred to as the DNA polymer. And so you're going to cut these three out until you have these right here. Now, a couple things that I found out when I was going through and cutting these is that you do not want to cut the little seam right here between the gray portion and the white portion. You want to leave that hole. If you accidentally cut it, you can just flip it over and put a little piece of tape on there. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but I screwed this up myself and had to figure it out the hard way. So I also recommend you don't color it right away because in case you screw up and you need to throw the whole thing out, you'll have wasted a lot of time. So wait to do the coloring until you've got everything cut and these cuts that you're going to have to make in a second all finished. So let's start first with the easiest cuts. Those are the ones for these two molecules right here. What you'll see is we have a line right here that says cut, and that's exactly what you need to do. So you're going to take and cut along this line here. And again, this is why it's really important that you don't cut this piece, because otherwise this will come completely off. So it still needs to stay attached. And then you need to cut the four little dotted lines that are leading up to the center circle. So right here and here. And then here and here. So now you've got these little tabs that can come off that will be used to keep the model together. So I've already done it on this one here, so you can see you got the little tabs. So once you have those, you can set them aside, and then we can do the big one. So now on this one, what we need to do is we need to cut out the white circles that are in the center. And so the easiest way to do that is to take this paper and kind of fold it along the circle. You can see that here. Fix my focus. And just do a little snip right there. And fold it the other direction. A little sandwich. And do another little small snip right there. And this way it gives you a little hole to put your scissor into so that you can now work your way around the circle. So this right here is the hardest part of this because you want to have your circle as smooth as possible. If you end up with a lot of weird little jagged cuts, you're not going to have a really smooth slide when you go to open up your molecule. Again, I learned this the hard way when I was getting ready to demonstrate this for you because I think I've gone through a few of these already. It looks pretty decent on this side. You can kind of check on the back side to make sure you've got a smooth open circle. Again, you don't want it really jagged. And so you'll just repeat the same thing with the other side here. A little snip on the X there. Fold it again. Another little snip on the X. If you don't get exactly on the X, it doesn't really matter because you're going to be cutting this out and throwing away the little center circles. If your edges are jagged, you have a little bit of room where you can go a little bit bigger on the circle itself. So feel free to do that and give it your best try until you finally have to give up. Hopefully you won't, but I do have a few extra copies of this one. So a nice one. Now you'll see right here, I just noticed a problem. This is what you want to avoid is when you get this little jag right here because that's what it's going to catch on. So if you see one of those, cut it off. Just kind of do an extra little trim. Now I think I just made it worse. Let's see. Let's kind of go from this side. See if we can smooth that out a little bit. Sorry, off camera there. Even if it's a little wonky, as long as you don't have a jagged little edge, you're in better shape. So you're going to have this guy here and then his little friends. So let me show you how to put this part together. So this one is going to go onto the right hand side and then this one goes on to the left hand side. So you can see we can kind of line them up like this. We're going to take and put these little tabs into these holes right here. So when I flip it over, it will look like this. So I've got the little cut edge here, and then I take my other tab and put it up like that. So then I can fold it over and I can see my little strand and the little cut edge. Same thing gonna happen over here. I'm gonna take my cut, stick it in right there, and I'll do the same with the top part. So I've got this. So when I flip it over, you know what I forgot to do too? I forgot to fold this. So let me go ahead and fold that on the dotted line. There we go. So when I flip it over, I have a molecule. And I think I may have slipped out. Oh, I didn't fold it on that line. There we go. All right, so now I've got my little pieces and our DNA molecule. To double check it, when you open it, you should have these guys coming out and this side over here too. So to put this one into your notebook, when you apply your glue, you'll only want to put your glue on the top portion here, and you'll want to make sure no glue gets onto the little slidey tabs. So just glue in this area here, and you're going to want to be a little more generous than usual with your glue because this is going to get tugged on a lot and you don't want it to pull out of your book. So from about this point up, nice layer of glue. But make sure that this section here can stay free to move. So once you have all that done, you can put it into your notebook and you can go ahead and color code it. This little key right here is off the instruction sheet, and so you can see here my sugars are purples, my phosphates are reds, and then I have all my bases colored. You can use whatever color code you want because this is your little personal molecule. One thing I do want you to do is to write the words DNA replication in the upper left hand corner, and then I also want you to put a little sentence right here about what's happening in this picture. So let me zoom in here so you can see a little bit better what I want you to write. So what's going on is after the original DNA strand is unzipped. That's one of the kind of regular terms we use for this. We're unzipping the molecule. After the original DNA strand is unzipped, the open strands are used as a template to form two new identical strands, because that is precisely what is happening in our molecule. So we take our DNA strand, there's actually a cool little enzyme called helicase that unwinds the double helix and splits them open, and then another little enzyme called DNA polymerase, because it's making a polymer and it's an enzyme, so polymerase comes through and starts reading here and matching it to the appropriate nucleotide. So we remember that T will always bond with A, so our new strand that's formed will also have an A. And so this T with A and this C with a G. And on yours they're blank, so you can fill them in. Try not to look at this one if you can, and see if you can do it from memory. So you'll notice that my new strand that's formed is identical to the old strand that was on the right hand side. When this guy goes and replicates, you'll notice that this strand is identical to this strand. So it uses as a template to form the opposite strand. And so ultimately we end up with two strands that are identical. You can see TA, 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 and CG, CG. And we have our two new DNA strands. And so this is the S phase of interphase when we're talking about mitosis. So that is how you do your little foldable section of this notebook for DNA replication, and I hope you had fun.